It was supposed to be a 1 week strike. It ended up being 2 weeks. We didn't even finish it week 2, but the hours were guaranteed. So that's a beautiful thing about strike nursing. You have guaranteed hours. The strike can be up day 1. You're still guaranteed that 13.6K. It got called off on like a Tuesday. I made $30,000 in 10 days. In 10 days. Some states in the U.S., they're union states. So the nurses there have some rights. So the nurses can decide, hey, listen, y'all only want to pay me $30 an hour. I'm going on a strike. Or the nurses can say, hey, staffing here is terrible. Like every time I come into work, we're short. And they can protest for that. Or, healthcare benefits, whatever it is. So in certain states and certain hospitals, they're unionized. They have rights. So whenever those nurses go strike, patients still need nurses, right? Somebody's mom is still in the hospital. And so the strike agency call on us. So we come in usually for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. I mean, some strikes last like months. It just depends on how deep the beef is. After the strike, I posted on my Instagram story. Keep in mind, I wasn't an influencer. I posted it with the pay stub because I knew like at that time, if you said 30K in 10 days, they was going to be like, cat. It wasn't even supposed to be nothing. And then, everybody's screenshotting it, sharing it to their friends. People were DMing me like, yo, what is finding? Because at this point, these nurses have been making 10K a week and the rates have slowed down. So everyone was messaging me. And that's one of the first lessons I learned about business is supply and demand. You got to take advantage of momentum when you have it. And I had motion like out of nowhere. There's a bunch of strike agencies. I'd say the biggest one is U.S. Nursing. So it's as simple as going on usnursing.com. And every single month, it'll have the upcoming strikes that are coming up. So August, September.
So welcome back to another episode of Motion and Success. My name is Cody Brown, and I have my co-host with me.
Yeah, it's Ayo. And like I said, like I usually always say, we back with another great episode. And today we got a really, really special guest with us. Today we got Nurse Lois with us. Yes. And right now we're in Atlanta, a different setting, from the usual. But like I said, you guys are going to get the game regardless. So if you don't mind, Nurse Lois, just introduce yourself.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Fun fact, networking is so crazy because last year we met randomly. I think I was like walking out the bathroom. Yeah. And we got some content and we've been able to stay locked in. So thank you for having me on your platform. So who am I? I've been a nurse for 6 years. Loved my time in nursing, but I think I overdid it a little bit with COVID. In 2020, I was one of the first nurses who went out to New York City. So right when the pandemic hit, went out there. They were paying nurses a lot of money, 10K a week. It was lit. And so went out there. I thought it was going to be lit. And then, working 60 hours, 72 hours, and I'm an ICU nurse. So the burnout kicked in very fast. But I think because the pay that we were getting at that time was so high, I just kept doing it. And I think I overdid it. I didn't take breaks. I've done 13 different travel assignments. Any major city you can think of, I've lived in it. New York, Phoenix, Atlanta.
How about Miami?
Miami. Yeah, I didn't like that assignment, ironically.
The New York one kind of struck out to me. So for most people, they probably don't even know that I'm a nurse as well. So I do remember that time during COVID. Mm-hmm. I think it was a mandate that, anybody traveling to New York, you had to work about, 21 days straight?
Yeah. Oh, you remember?
Yeah, because I was working with a couple of them. And I thought to myself, too, because I was thinking about, joining that, like wanting to do that. Because the money was good, like you said. But I was like, people, like, I think after day 10 straight, my mental health will probably be on decline.
Yeah.
So, like, during that time, like, how were you able to kind of, stay strong mentally?
That's a great question. You know what's funny about that? I was actually too scared for the 21 days straight. So I didn't do the 21 days straight. I was doing 60 hours. So I was doing about like 5 days a week. That was my contract. So I signed up to work 60 hours and then I would pick up. But I knew I'm not even built to be doing even 7 days straight. Because, as nurses, most nurses, we work 12-hour shifts. So, but nevertheless, it was a trying time. And I think going out there, I was excited because I saw the pay packages, but I didn't realize the trauma that was going to come with it. And I got really attached to some of my New York patients. I still have a patient to this day. Wow. Like, we check in every single month. He's out in Tampa now. So I didn't know the toll it was going to have on me emotionally. And I think just doing it after 2 years, it was just burnout. And so now I've been able to pivot into nurse entrepreneurship, and I'm a lot happier.
Wow. That's really great too, because I'm not even gonna lie, like a lot of nurses do get comfortable, especially at the bedside, because I mean the pay is good, you know, you get into health insurance, whatever,
Right.
and a lot of them are, you know, suffering in silence, you know, so
For sure.
so basically that experience is what kicked off your entrepreneur journey.
You know what's so crazy about my entrepreneurship journey? I don't think I've ever really broke this down. It was an accident. Like, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I don't even know how I got here, honestly. I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. April 2022, I did a strike nurse assignment, which is essentially kind of like a travel nurse assignment, except it's way shorter. So it might be a few days, it might be a week. And I was actually on a local assignment because I live in LA. I was on a local assignment, and an old recruiter from my COVID days called me like, oh, I got this assignment for you. And I was about to hang up. I was like, girl, I'm on an assignment. No, thank you. And she was like, no, wait. It's just 60 hours. I just need you to commit for 1 week. And I was like, no, I'm good. And then she told me the pay package. Keep in mind, this is 2022. So the COVID rates were going down, and it was kind of like back to normal, back to reality. She said 13.6K for 60 hours, quick week. I was like, huh? I was like, send me that contract. But then it was kind of like a red flag because she was being very secret. I was like, what kind of contract is this? Because COVID was dying down, so I knew the COVID rates were low. And she was like, well, we'll give you more information as it gets there. They're like, oh, we're going to fly you in. We're going to put you in a hotel. All these amazing things. It felt too good to be true. And then fast forward like a week or two later, when it was time for the assignment, I realized that it was a strike assignment. So what is strike nursing? Strike nursing is literally the same thing as a travel assignment, except some states in the U.S., they're union states. So the nurses there have some rights. So the nurses can decide, hey, listen, y'all only want to pay me $30 an hour. I'm going on a strike. Or the nurses can say, hey, staffing here is terrible. Like, every time I come into work, we're short. And they can protest for that. Or, you know, healthcare benefits, whatever it is. So in certain states and certain hospitals, they're unionized. They have rights. So whenever those nurses go strike, which I support them, they hate us. They hate the nurses who come into work. So while they go strike and they go protest, patients still need nurses, right? Somebody's mom is still in the hospital. And so the strike agencies, you know, call on us. So we come in usually for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. I mean, some strikes last like months. It just depends on how deep the beef is. So we come in, we feel that need, but it gets a little political. Like the nurses who are protesting, when we're coming in on a bus, you know, depending on the area. If you're in New York, they might be throwing stuff at the bus. So going back to entrepreneurship, I did that strike. It was supposed to be a 1 week strike. It ended up being 2 weeks. So I ended off on a 10-day strike because the strike ended on like a Tuesday. So we didn't even finish it week 2, but the hours were guaranteed. So that's a beautiful thing about strike nursing. You have guaranteed hours. So the strike can be up day 1. You're still guaranteed that 13.6K. So once we rolled over into week 2, it got caught off on like a Tuesday. I made $30,000 each in 10 days. In 10 days. Yeah. So how this led me to entrepreneurship, I was on Instagram. So during the strike, you're not supposed to post that you're on a strike. It's real political. Like the strike is on the news and stuff like that. And so after the strike, I posted on my Instagram story. Keep in mind, I wasn't an influencer. I'm still not, but I was just a regular schmegler. Still am. So I just posted it on my story like, yo, and I posted it with the pay stub because I knew like at that time, if you said 30K in 10 days, they was going to be like, cap. Yeah, so I posted the pay stub on my story. I don't even think I had like 6,000 followers. Like, it wasn't even supposed to be nothing. And then, everybody's screenshotting it, sharing it to their friends. People were DMing me like, yo, what is fun? Because at this point, these nurses have been making 10K a week and the rates have slowed down. So everyone was messaging me. And that's one of the first lessons. Yeah. They were messaging me, hey, what is this? Can we get more information? Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. And that's the first lesson I learned about business is supply and demand. You got to take advantage of momentum when you have it. And I had motion like out of nowhere. And so the guy that I was dating at the time, he's an entrepreneur. He does sports betting. And so he was really the one to put that bug in my ear, like, yo, these people DMing you. And I was in the DM doing coaching, like, yo, these are these are the agencies. Here's a recruiter, call them. And I went live and I was giving all the strike game. And he was like, yo, you got to start doing like coaching calls to do something. Yeah. And so my first digital product was coaching calls. I think it was on Calendarly or whatever it was. It was 30 minutes for $100. And when I was pricing it, I thought it was too high. Another lesson I learned in entrepreneurship is that you can't price things based on the time that you spent with somebody, because that's the 9-to-5 mindset. You work at $30 an hour, but as an entrepreneur, you have to charge based on value. So I was like, if I can spend 30 minutes on a phone with a nurse, and I know I'm going to give game. I'm giving you recruiters, I'm plugging you in, I'm saying, here's this phone number. That phone call, you could go do $7K on a strike, $10K on a strike. And so I charged $100. I didn't think nobody was going to book it. I was doing like 7-8 calls a day. Yeah. Wow. And so, I did it for probably like a month. And then while I would be on the phone calls, people would be like, okay, this is great, but what about if there's a strike in 2 months? I got to book another call. And so I knew I had to kind of like put the people somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know community was a thing. Like I was like, everyone I did a call with, let's join this group chat.
Yeah. I
was calling it a group chat. It was supposed to be like anything. And it grew from there. So I always tell people, like, I don't even know how I became an entrepreneur. That was never really the intention, but there was a need and there was a problem, meaning nurses weren't seeing those higher rates that they were used to. And I had the solution, like, hey, you could do a strike. You don't even got to go out to nowhere for 2 months. This is a quick week, 2 weeks. And then it just grew and grew and grew. Wow. That was a long story.
Yeah, I see how you set it up. Like the posting a story, and then people sending DMs. They might see a story. They send it to somebody else. Be like, girl, look at Lois. She got $30,000.
When I would go on IG Live, like I really capitalize on the moment. Like I was like, okay, all these DMs, I can't answer them all. Let's go on IG Live. I would be on IG Live. I'm talking like 150 people on my live, which if y'all know for live, that's strong because you don't be on live. And I didn't even have 10K followers. Wow. So I was like, where these people coming from? They had questions. Is the strike dangerous? All these other things that I didn't think about. So then it started with, okay, let me do some coaching calls. Then they were running me up. I can't talk to 8 people a day every day. And it's the same information. So I was like, let me package this into a course. Yeah. Right. And then let me put them in a community because first of all, strikes are not guaranteed. And strikes are not always predictable. It can be a strike this month and then next month there's no strike. And so that they don't have to keep booking calls every single month. Yeah. Let's throw them in a community and keep them updated. So all of this it was never a play for me. It was just kind of like, okay, let's just throw them in a chat. Oh. And yeah, it grew from there. I had people who then were like, okay, I just want to join the community. I don't want to do the call. And then when I built out the course, it was easier to be like, okay, so I could free up my time, mm-hmm. right? Because people don't want to talk about this in entrepreneurship, but there's burnout in entrepreneurship. And like the same struggles that you have in the 9-to-5 world, you can still have in business, right? People portray business as like, it's always sweet, you always have your time, and this is great. I was getting burnt out like my first month in entrepreneurship. And so when I decided to package up my knowledge into a course, it saved me like 8 hours. I don't have to sit on these calls saying the same thing. Over and over. Yeah.
Makes sense. So now, like, what's like, say for example, somebody to come to you right now for like strike nursing, like, like give them like a micro step that they could use to go out and find a contract, or what do you guys call it, a strike?
Yeah, a strike assignment. That's a great question. So the first thing I will say, if any nurse, you got to be a nurse obviously to do strike nursing, but if any nurse wanted to get into strike nursing, number one, you have to have 2 years of solid experience. Mm-hmm. So this is not giving travel assignment. This is not for the rookies, because on a strike, there's no preceptor. And a preceptor is somebody where when you start an assignment, maybe for 2-3 days, they show you around, or this is where the strike is. Yeah, you can shadow them. On a strike, there's none of that, because who's going to precept you? Like, they're outside, they're protesting, right? So there's the staff that wouldn't be around to show you the ropes. They're outside fighting for their rights. So number one thing, you have to have 2 years of experience. Now, when it comes to the agencies, there's a bunch of strike agencies. I'd say the biggest one is U.S. Nursing. So it's as simple as going on usnursing.com, and every single month it'll have the upcoming strikes that are coming up. So August, September. And one thing to note is that strikes are not guaranteed. So that's the con about strike nursing. It's not predictable. So because it's kind of like there's a beef going on, and at any minute they can be cool. Like the nurses could, they could shake on it, but you already calculated your paycheck, and it's like, I mean, it's happened. Like the con of strike nursing is that sometimes I've had nurses inside the community. They're in the airport about to fly to Cali. Most strikes are in California, not all, but most. They're literally in the airport about to board, and then strike canceled. The hospital and nurses are cool now. It's horrible.
Wow. So would you suggest somebody that already have like an assignment, like say for example they're working at Brookdale Methodist Hospital or something like that. Say for example they're working at Methodist. Would you tell them to leave their leave their actual gig and then do strike? Is that something part-time? Like, what would you do?
Great question. I always tell nurses never
leave your actual.
Never sacrifice your guaranteed, well, even honestly, travel assignments, they could still cancel you, but it's more secure than a strike. But some strikes are literally like 2 days, 3 days. This might be a little toxic, but you can just tell your manager, hey, something happened. I just need like 5 days. I just need 60 hours.
Yeah.
So I tell nurses never quit your guaranteed assignment for a strike. But I mean, there's been like 1 day strikes before. Granted, you have to come out maybe a day or two early for orientation.
Yeah.
But it's so short, you can,
Wow. Okay.
ask for a week off.
Damn. Yeah, that's what I was. You basically asked the question I just was about to ask too, because I was gonna say like, being strike contracts aren't guaranteed. Like,
Right.
so how how do you educate your nurses in a way where like, they could avoid that problem of taking that flight, and then all of a sudden it's like, damn, like I'm here now, I gotta go back home.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always tell nurses, if you want to get into strike nursing, you need to mix it up with PRN nursing. So what is PRN nursing? PRN is a nurse that works as needed. And most people, when they hear PRN, if there's any nurses watching this, they're thinking, okay, full-time nurse, part-time nurse, PRN nurse with your local hospital. And that's all true. But there are also PRN agencies, more so in Cali. Honestly, I moved to California 3 years ago only because nursing is just so lit in Cali. But there are PRN agencies where you can be local. So you can, depend on how you want to structure it, but there are PRN agencies that'll pay you $11.20 a shift. There's a PRN agency called Core Med Staff. They're based in downtown LA, and they pay $11.20 per shift. And they don't care how many shifts you want to do in a week. And so for my out-of-town nurses, maybe you don't live in Cali, but you're trying to make that $1,000 a shift, you can literally, most PRN agencies, they'll want you to commit to 4 to 6 shifts a month. So they'll say, okay, I need you to give me 6 shifts this month, 4 shifts a month. And so what you want to do if you want to get into strike nursing is that you want to have a PRN, whether you want to do it in your city, it doesn't have to be in Cali. There are other PRN agencies that you can leverage regardless of the city. So CareRev is a good one. It's in most of the states. Medley is a good one. So you don't always have to come to Cali, but if you're in New York, your shifts might be like $8.50, and New York is actually a pretty good state for the nursing. There is ghetto, but they pay well. Yeah, I have a nurse. She's actually here this weekend. She was showing me her shift in New York that she did last week was $8.50. So it's not going to give Cali $1,000, but it's not bad. So I always tell nurses who want to do strike nursing, make sure you have a PRN because there's more flexibility. You just got to do 4 to 6 shifts a month. And you can let them know, hey, Monday's cool with me. So yeah, anybody who's looking to get into strike nursing, make sure you have a PRN job so that, if the strike gets canceled, ain't nothing to call your PRN agency and be like, okay, let me pick it up. The second thing that I would say to avoid getting to the airport and the flight is canceled, a lot of times on a strike, the strike will probably start on a Monday, but they'll ask you to fly in. You can either fly in Friday, you can fly in Saturday, because they have to do orientation and make sure you know what you're doing. And so the number one thing for any strike nurse to kind of like secure your spot, get there the first day possible. The agency will say, and they'll give you an incentive, like come Thursday, we'll give you $600. Come Friday, $300. As long as you physically get there, as long as you physically get there and the strike starts, you'll get paid something.
Yeah.
So if the strike is supposed to start Monday, don't be trying to fly out Sunday. Just get out Thursday, get your bonus, and at least your feet is on the Cali soil or wherever the strike is, you'll get paid.
So another thing I was going to say too is, so being at nursing right now is like, you know, nurses, they getting paid a good amount of money nowadays. So what is your advice to your nurses in terms of like, you know, preserving their money and, you know, because they work, like you actually are working hard for your money. So it's like
hard.
A lot of them, you know, unfortunately I am hearing them go from like paycheck to paycheck, even
for
if
sure.
you're high in the six figures. So what's your advice to them, like, you know, to make sure like, you know, they're not running the rat race as it.
Ooh, that's so good. That's such a sad reality, and that was me. I've definitely been a paycheck to paycheck nurse, even during COVID, and that's really sad because it was like on the low end, I was making $5,000 a week, so that's 20 bands a month, and I was still paycheck to paycheck. And so I really, really empathize with nurses. I think sometimes you can get caught up in lifestyle. Like I know for me, COVID, I was 22 making that type of money. I was doing penthouse. I was living, like, I was doing penthouses. I was flying my family in. What you need, buying Gucci. I'm glad I did it, but I was definitely, I got it out of my system. But even now, like even nurses who are not even all about lifestyle, there are so many nurses who are paycheck to paycheck. I think nursing was one of the careers or healthcare in general, because even doctors, on paper, we're rich, but we not. It's not given. So advice that I would say is to live below your means. I know everyone's heard it, but literally as nurses love a trip. They love outside. They love a brunch. And it's just like, no, like put your head down, save your money. And definitely I think every nurse should start a side hustle. I don't care what it is. You could do Airbnb. You could start your own podcast. You can do an online business, but make sure you definitely, you're not just relying on nursing.
So I know one of the things that you do outside of nursing is life insurance, right? Like, can you talk, like, I never really understood on your side, how do you do it?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's like a second business.
Yeah, for sure. I have two businesses. I have my online community, which was really like my bread and butter last year, but this year life insurance is like, I don't even promote my community anymore because life insurance has been taken off. So life insurance, I feel like for people, it sounds random, like life insurance. It's so funny because before I was a nurse, I have a friend, she was trying to recruit me. I think she was with Primerica. And I was like, because she was my friend, I was like, okay, girl, I'll come to their damn meeting.
You're certified too? You got the license?
No, not at that point. I got the license 2 years ago, September 2022. But I sat in on the meeting. It didn't give me good vibes. One thing that I always say about life insurance is that I can see why sometimes it has a bad rep, because not every agency or company has the same value. Some agencies, they're very big on like, you gotta recruit, bring 10 people. I don't like weird stuff like that.
2 or 3.
Yeah. So, no disrespect to Primerica, but they were on that type of time, like, bring 5 people and all that weird stuff. And then in 2020, I have an accountant, shout out to Jerry. When I was living my best life and, and my checks, I was going tax exempt. I was like, listen, I'm worried about that later. Ended up owing 5 figures in taxes. My first 2 years of travel nurse, I was going I knew the bill was gonna come, but it's just like the first travel nurse check, it was supposed to be like $6,000, and it was like $4,000. It's like $2,000 in taxes. After that, I was like, I'm going exempt. I'm living in the now. It was a horrible decision I ended up on. But long story short, going back to life insurance, my accountant, he told me in 2020, he was like, it's actually a tax strategy to get your life insurance license. And I was like, because he was telling me, he's like, you're going to owe 5 figures. I'm going to let you know right now. And I was like, okay, so what do I do? Like, do I start an LLC? He advised that, but I didn't have the idea. Remember, I never thought I would even be here. So he was like, you should consider getting your life insurance license. I'm like, what does life insurance have to do with taxes? Like, what they got to do with it? And it's just the nature of the business, because when you're a licensed life insurance agent, you can have clients in all 50 states. So if I got to go close a deal and my client lives in Colorado, and this is going to be a good deal. I might need to fly out to go meet her because, people don't trust people on virtual sales. So if this is going to be a big, and there's different policies, but if it's going to be like a big policy, it might require me to fly out. It might require me to get a hotel. And so he was saying, because I'm already doing these things for travel nursing, it's like a tax loop. So you having your license, because a write-off is anything that's necessary for your business, right? These equipment that you have is a write-off, laptop, phone, anything that is necessary for you to run your business, even if you just have an LLC or S Corp, C Corp, anything that's necessary for you to operate your business is a tax write-off. And so you catching a flight is a write-off, hotels, and these are things I was already doing. So that kind of got me interested, but it wasn't enough for me to, I was getting too much.
It was more like anything to lower the 5-figure burden.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the play, but I didn't run it until 2 years later. I was actually working on an assignment, and my charge nurse, her name is Susie, like after working with her, maybe like 2 months later, I see on Instagram that she had this whole post where she was like retired nurse before 30. And then I messaged her. I was like, because at this point it's 2022. The money's going down. I'm tired. We've been on a road for 2 years. I'm like, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm doing life insurance. And I think because it was another nurse that I knew and I trusted.
Yeah.
And I had already heard about life insurance before. I was like, let me just see what
like
it's about.
Yeah.
And it's been up ever since 2 years later.
Wait, so how do you find your clients? Is like,
Great question.
do you go to like nursing homes and find clients? Like funeral? What do you do? How do you find clients for your life
That's
insurance?
actually really, I'm impressed that you even threw that out there.
I want to know, like, because we had Damon on the podcast, and he was like, yo,
Shout out to Damon.
yeah, shout out to Damon. He was like, he had a mentor, and he's like, if you get your life insurance license, you will never have to worry about money again.
It's true.
So, like,
It's true.
where do you find your clients?
Great question. There are 3 ways to acquire clients in the life insurance industry. The first way is called warm market. This is the traditional way that a lot of people ain't trying to do. Warm market is me saying, Cody, you got a policy?
Yeah.
Or Cody, are you building wealth? Like being not weird, because it's actually
Like a genuine question.
Yeah, genuine question, but warm market turns a lot of people off because it can feel not genuine. Like, oh, instead of us just having a conversation, I'm trying to get a sale out of you. So warm market is pretty much you leveraging people in your network that are close to you, so your friends, family, coworkers, those kinds of things. So that's one way. Second way are leads. So depending on the company, some companies, they will actually have their own lead vendors. And a lead is not a guaranteed sale. A lead is just somebody who either saw an ad on Facebook, saw an ad on Instagram, and there are third-party companies that run ads. So the ad might say, oh, you can get, for as little as $1 a day, you can get 100K worth of coverage, or whatever the ad said, right? Just like we would run ads in general. And so a lead is somebody who saw the ad and put down their information. So we get their phone number, their email address. Some leads are extensive. Sometimes we get who they want as their beneficiary. Sometimes we get their favorite hobby, depend on the lead vendor. And so we can call those clients, potential clients, and help them out with getting more information. And sometimes it can lead to a sale. So that's the second way, through leads. And then the third way is what you said, going into where your target market is. Life insurance is honestly just like any other business, right? Like I have an online digital product business, same thing. If I want to acquire nurses, I can talk to my nurse friends that I went to nursing school with, warm market. I can run an ad, get leads. Or number 3, with life insurance, I would go to a nursing home, a funeral home, right? That's you going to wherever your target market is. So if I was a nurse trying to get more nurses in my community, I might go to a nurse's school and say, hey, I'd love to come talk to them, whatever. So college, or maybe a nurse conference. So yeah, life insurance wise, we just go to the senior centers and funeral homes, churches.
What's your favorite go-to, you would say?
Warm
market?
You know what? That's tough. I think, that's tough. It goes in phases. I think right now I am in my warm market phase for sure. I think I used to shy away from it. I used to thought it was like a cringy conversation. But once I started realizing, like, I would rather help people I know than like a random and a stranger. So I think also once I built my belief in life insurance, because if you're going to pitch anything to anybody, I always tell people, you got to be your first sale. Yeah. I can't sell you if I'm not sold. And I think I was always sold, but it was always hard for me to like talk to friends and, you know, we're in a lot of entrepreneurship rooms, talk to people who are already millionaires. But then I realized just because somebody is a millionaire doesn't mean they know anything about money. They know how to make it. They don't know how to keep it. And so, yeah, now I'm definitely in my warm market bag for sure.
So being, you know, that you're on this entrepreneur journey, like when was the point where you was like, did you have a goal set? Like, if I make this amount of money, you know, I'm leaving the bedside. Or was it like, you know, when you feel like when business was booming and then you kind of was like, yo, I think I'm kind of just over the bedside. Like, when was that point?
That's such a good question. You know what's crazy for me? I got my life insurance license September 2022. I quit my nursing job November 2022. So 2 months, right? And I don't always advise it, but I was so done with the bedside personally. And disclaimer, there's nothing wrong with nursing. I honestly think I just picked the wrong specialty. ICU is rough. Doing adults. So sometimes I talk to my other nurse friends. They're in the NICU with the babies, or they're doing labor and delivery with the mom. They're happy. Or they're doing surgery. The surgeon doing all the work. They're happy. Meanwhile, I'm running around, and ICU is very traumatic. I think it doesn't fit my personality because I'm very like caring. I'm the nurse who be getting attached to my patients, so I think it was too dark for me. So, but no, I don't want to like deter anybody. You just pick a happy specialty in nursing, because if I were to do everything all over again, I would probably do like surgery, like OR nursing or PACU or something like that. But to answer your question, I was so done. I was like, if this thing can work, give it a month or two. I'm ready to go all in. So my first month being licensed in life insurance, I made about $4K. And the second month, I think I made like $5K. It wasn't life changing, but I knew I can at least see that it worked. Yeah. So I was like, okay, it works. Let me just try. And also prior to that, I had started my community, because I started my community like May 2022, but I wasn't taking it serious. Remember, to me, it was just a group chat, just throw people in, honestly. But exposure, I started being more tapped into entrepreneurs. Shout out to Dion Coopwood, shout out to Nehemiah Davis. I started following these people that were talking about monetizing your knowledge, like digital products. And I'm like, whole time, I'm calling it a group chat, but I have a community. So I think once I saw the money from life insurance, I was like, it works. So let me take a pause. And then I still got this thing here that I'm kind of treating like a group chat, that it could be something. So yeah, 2 months in, I quit my job. And when I was quitting, it was an assignment. When I was quitting, I didn't think I was quitting nursing. I didn't think I was retiring. I was just like, okay, worst case scenario, just pick up another assignment. And yeah, I haven't had to go back since.
No, that's a great whole, like the whole story you just gave. That it was great, because honestly, like I was thinking, like, you know, you would like it wouldn't be an easy transition, you know. Yeah. So especially like, you know, not coming, you didn't come from an entrepreneur background, right?
Nothing. My mom is she's actually a nurse practitioner. My dad works at Chase. So they're both successful. But no entrepreneurs in my family at all. It's not even like a thing. I was born and raised in Ghana. I moved to America when I was 9. So I really value stability, which is actually the biggest, in my opinion. I feel like this is one of the biggest reasons why we don't see a lot of nurses or doctors, healthcare in general. We don't see them at these conferences. Like, it's starting to grow, but there's definitely like, you go to any conference, there's a bunch of people talking about real estate, stocks, all these investments, and no nurses, no doctors. And I think it's because that stability is there. You can make 80K, you can make 100 if you really want to put in them hours. And so, but for me, like, I don't know, I'm a little different. I was like, I'm not about to wait like 2-3. I saw it for 2 months at working. let me just go all in. But now that I help nurses pivot into entrepreneurship, whether that's through life insurance sales or starting their online business, as a coach, I'm seeing that everyone does not operate how because to me, it's like, if it's working, just keep doing it and then eventually quit. But it's so hard to get nurses who are programmed for that stability to kind of like bet on themselves. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. That right there is really a fact. So, did you go out like, when you reached that kind of like barrier or like a point where like in entrepreneurship where you didn't know what to do, like who did you go to? How did you get that information?
Sure. Listen, entrepreneurship can be ghetto.
Yeah.
It can be ghetto a lot of times. I think one of the hardest parts about entrepreneurship is overcoming your mind. And the urge, I've had so many urges to just pick up a assignment, honestly. It's like, I'm already the strike queen. I'm posting these jobs in the community. I'm seeing it. I'm 7K. Like, it's so tempting. I've had many moments where, I've had months where I ain't make no money. I've had months where I had to maybe invest into a program or invest into some type of marketing, and that month was a negative. And it's like, okay, you're trying to have the good mindset that it's going to work, or, somebody sold you a dream, that, this play works. And so it's like, okay, I just spent this. I ain't getting a return right now, but I'm hopeful. But then it's so hard to not. I've had many moments in entrepreneurship where the money wasn't right and I wanted to pick up a shift. So I would say the hardest part about entrepreneurship is your mindset, because it really tests, like, do you really believe in this for real? Because it's like, you're going to have months where you're lucky to break even. You're going to have months where you're in the negative. And then I've also had months, I've had 6-figure months. And then I've also had months where I was happy at least we broke even, we had 0. So the inconsistency is not lit. I tell people, if you have a good job, you're in the corporate world, like, just really, really don't go into business for the money, because it's like, the money is going to be funny at some point. It's going to be lit, but it's going to be funny at some point. And I think it's part of the game. And I think nobody talks about it. You're going to have months where you're just happy to break even. So it's inconsistent. So really make sure that what you want to do is really what you want to do. Because if you don't have that belief, that full belief, you're going to want to, like, pick up a shift, honestly.
Damn, I definitely know it's a roller coaster. So before we wrap up, like, what would be, like, because you're definitely doing great work, because even me, like, I typically see, I speak to, some nurses and things, they, like, most of them, they went out the best side, and the first person they bring up, oh, I'm tapped in with Nurse Lois. I'm like, damn. You know what I mean?
So,
like, so what is your goal? Like, what is your ultimate goal? Like, with everything you're doing now, with, the nursing, the life insurance, like, what is your ultimate goal or your mission?
that's so good. I'm on a mission to help 1,000 nurses become financially free. I actually don't care what route they take. It doesn't have to be life insurance. It doesn't have to be digital products. But I think going to these events, getting in these rooms, I want to create a room for nurses. I want to have a big nurse conference where it's not just medical stuff and we talking about the medications. Like, I want to bring entrepreneurship to nurses. So definitely help 1,000 nurses become financially free. I have 13 mentees who are completely retired from the bedside. So 1,000 minus 13, I got a long way to go, but it's a start. And then also creating these spaces for nurses. So, like, bringing a conference into the nursing world and introducing them to different things that they can do on the side, so they're not always having to pick up a shift.
And that's fantastic, because it's definitely needed. A lot of nurses are suffering in silence, so I'm glad you're out there helping them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my last question is too, like, I see you have like communities where you guys travel together too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We actually got a trip in 2 weeks. We're going to Colombia, Cartagena.
Oh, nice.
We outside.
So is that mentees only?
So this one is just for the community. I am going to have a mentees only one in November. But I like to offer both. So like we have our community's grown. I have 2, but combined we have over 800 nurses. Yeah, going crazy. And I'm hoping to hit 1,000. Not hoping. I will hit 1,000 by the end of this year. So like every year I try to do like 2 or 3 trips. Just so we can also, it's not just business, like we can have fun together and, you know, just have girl time. We have some male nurses in the community.
I was like,
yeah.
Y'all gonna ask that. Like, no guys?
Y'all could come through, but yeah. So that way it's also fun. I think COVID, everyone being locked up inside, we're always on our phones. It's really important to get in person. I'm very big on getting in person and, you know, networking. So yeah, I'm excited. We got some trips coming up.
That's nice. How could the people find you?
The people can find me on Instagram at the Nurse Lois. You can find me on YouTube at Nurse Lois, and then Twitter and Threads and TikTok, the Nurse Lois. So everything the Nurse Lois. YouTube is just Nurse Lois.
Nice. Any final questions, bro?
This was a great one. Like, for sure. Like, you know, I think it went from entrepreneurship, nursing. Like, it covered pretty much everything, you know? Yeah, life insurance industry as well. So, I mean, this is a good one. So, like, comment, and subscribe. Also subscribe to the Patreon. And we'll be back consistently with more great episodes. Definitely want to thank Nurse Lois for taking the time.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
For sure.
And I love everything you guys are doing. Like, I eventually want to have a podcast. Earlier, I was trying to get some gems from you guys. You guys were giving me some gems. So I love everything you're doing, and keep going. Keep going. It's definitely needed. It's not a toxic podcast. So we, yeah. So we need that. Yeah.
It's true.